The question sounds simple, almost childish. Why does the universe exist at all? Not how it behaves, not how it evolves, not how it began, but why there is anything instead of nothing. Physics is extraordinarily good at answering how questions. It can tell you how stars form, how particles interact, how space-time bends, how the universe expands. But when you ask why there is a universe in the first place, physics falls silent. Not because the question is meaningless, but because it reaches a boundary physics cannot cross. The existence of the universe itself is not something physics can currently explain, and that fact is deeply unsettling. From everyday experience, existence feels given. The universe is just there. You wake up inside it. You never encounter nothingness, so you rarely question why there is something rather than nothing. But the moment you step back, the assumption collapses. Nothingness is simpler than something. No laws, no particles, no space, no time, no problems. And yet, that is not what exists. Something does. A structured, law-governed universe exists, and physics has no answer for why this is the case. This discomfort grows when you realize that physics does not actually describe the origin of existence. Even the Big Bang is not an explanation of why the universe exists. It is a description of how the universe evolved from an extremely hot, dense state. It tells you about early conditions, not ultimate origins. Ask what happened before the Big Bang, and classical physics breaks down. Ask why the Big Bang happened at all, and physics has nothing to say. The equations require a universe to already exist in order to operate. They do not explain existence, they assume it. This reveals a subtle limitation. Physics is a theory of behavior, not of being. It describes how reality changes, not why reality is there to change at all. Laws govern evolution, but laws themselves do not explain why there is something to govern. Even the most fundamental theories start with existence as a premise. This becomes clearer when physicists attempt to define nothing. In physics, nothing rarely means nothing. The vacuum is not empty. It seethes with fluctuations, fields, and energy. Particles appear and disappear. Space has structure. Time still exists. This is not nothingness. It is a highly structured state. When physicists say the universe could arise from nothing, they usually mean from a quantum vacuum governed by laws. But that already assumes a framework. It assumes mathematics. It assumes rules. It assumes possibility. True nothingness has none of these. And physics has no tools to describe true nothingness, because physics only operates where there is structure. This leads to an uncomfortable realization. When physics talks about origins, it quietly replaces the question, why does something exist, with how did this state evolve from another state? The deeper question remains untouched. Why is there a state at all? Why is there a framework in which states can exist? Why are there laws rather than no laws? These are not gaps in data. They are gaps in explanatory scope. Some try to escape this by appealing to necessity. Perhaps the universe must exist. Perhaps non-existence is impossible. But this claim requires proof. Physics has not shown that existence is necessary. Logical consistency alone does not demand a universe. There is no known contradiction in the idea of nothingness. Others appeal to chance. Perhaps the universe exists by accident, a fluctuation, a rare event. But chance presupposes a space of possibilities. It presupposes rules that define what can fluctuate and how. That again assumes a framework. You cannot explain existence by invoking probability without already assuming existence of something probabilistic. The explanation loops. Some propose multiverses. Perhaps many universes exist, and ours is just one. But this does not solve the problem. It multiplies it. Why does the multiverse exist? Why do its laws exist? Why is there a structure that generates universes rather than nothing at all? Each layer pushes the question back, never eliminating it. Physics can extend explanation outward, but it cannot ground it absolutely. This is why the question persists. It does not go away with more data. It is not resolved by better instruments. It is not solved by deeper equations. It sits beneath all of them. And that is why physics cannot answer it. Not because physics is weak, but because it is precise about what it can and cannot do. Physics explains relationships within existence. It does not explain existence itself. This boundary is not often discussed because it feels uncomfortable. Scientists prefer questions that can be operationalized, tested, falsified. Why is there something rather than nothing resists this treatment? You cannot run an experiment on non-existence. You cannot compare existence to nothingness. You cannot sample alternative realities where nothing exists. The question escapes the scientific method without being meaningless. It is meaningful precisely because it cannot be absorbed into explanation. This creates a strange tension. On the one hand, physics has demystified enormous portions of reality. It has shown that the universe does not need purpose, intention, or design to function. On the other hand, the sheer fact that there is a universe remains unexplained. The success of physics sharpens the mystery rather than dissolving it. The more we understand how reality behaves, the more glaring the question of why it exists becomes. Some philosophers argue that existence has no explanation, that asking, "Why is there something?" is a category error. That existence is brute. It simply is. This answer feels unsatisfying because it denies explanation at the deepest level. But it may be honest. There may be no deeper reason. The universe may exist without justification, not because we failed to find one, but because there is none to find. This possibility is deeply unsettling because it removes the final anchor. It suggests that reality is not grounded in reason, necessity, or purpose. It is grounded in nothing beyond itself. Others argue that existence is necessary, that nothingness is impossible. But necessity itself would require explanation. Why must something exist? Why must laws exist? Why must mathematics exist? Each answer demands another why. The chain does not end. Physics does not resolve this because physics is not designed to. It operates inside existence. It presupposes a universe to describe. It cannot step outside reality to justify it. This does not make physics incomplete in a practical sense. It makes it bounded. There is a difference between understanding behavior and understanding being. Physics excels at the former. The latter may not be accessible to any formal system. This boundary does something important. It humbles explanation. It reminds you that even the most powerful theories rest on unexamined assumptions. Existence is one of them. The universe does not explain itself to physics. Physics describes what the universe does once it exists. This leaves you with a choice in interpretation. You can see this boundary as a failure, or you can see it as a clue. Perhaps reality is not something that can be explained in total. Perhaps explanation itself is a feature of reality, not a tool that can transcend it. If that is true, then asking why the universe exists is like asking why explanation exists. It is a question that turns back on itself. The discomfort you feel when confronting this question is not accidental. It is the mind reaching the edge of its own framework. You are used to explanations that reduce complexity to simpler elements, but here, there is nothing simpler. Existence is the simplest thing possible. There is no underlying mechanism because there is nothing underlying existence. That may be the final limit, and limits matter. They tell you what kind of universe you are in. You are in a universe that allows explanation but not infinite explanation. That allows laws, but not a reason for laws. That allows structure, but not a reason for structure. The fact that physics cannot answer why the universe exists does not diminish physics. It clarifies its domain. Physics is not a theory of everything in the philosophical sense. It is a theory of how everything behaves once it is there. And that may be all it can ever be. The question of why there is something rather than nothing may remain unanswered not because we lack intelligence, but because reality does not owe us an answer. The universe exists. That is the starting point. Everything else is commentary. This is Veritas Labs, where truth is tested.